Is he? Is he there?
Not that I can see so
I'd
far.
like to convene the meeting of the Finance and Personnel Committee on February 12th at 6:45 p.m. And let's see, roll call, Yates,
Here.
Martin. Right here. Grenier here.
All right, pretty routine stuff, except so the Board of Commissioners is that TID borrowing that we had done that comes due on March 15th. So we have that bill in there. We did get the bill for the fire department contract for the first quarter. I think else is. There were some no parking signs from TAPCO that Ron had ordered. Pretty much local, same stuff. Heartland overhead door was here a couple times. We had to fix the spring on one of the doors in the back, and then we did have to do another new open.
What was the grant supplies rate or hearing?
That is a police department thing. They're getting a grant. We had to purchase the supplies first, then they reimburse. So I don't know exactly what they were ordering, but they did a couple of different purchases of supplies that they will get reimbursed for.
Amy is on.
And that's
I can ask her to unmute if you need her.
She's with us? Yeah, she's. Okay.
I'll make a motion to pay the bills as submitted by the clerk.
Second. We have a motion and a second to pay the bills as presented by the village clerk. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? No. I make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
We are adjourned.
Evening, everyone. I would like to call the Village of Lannon Village Board meeting to order Monday, February 12th, 2024 at 7 p.m. Stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Please move your head here. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I'd also just like to remind everyone to please silence your phones if you haven't already. Roll call.
Palatola Roby, here, Grenier, here, Lake, Martin. Nellis. Is that on there?
Nope.
Reek, Yates.
Here. Is Amy on the note?
She is. I just asked her to unmute.
Okay. Statement of public notice.
Has been posted.
Item number 5, discussion and possible action on reading correction and approval of the minutes from 12/11/23 village board meeting.
I will make a motion that we accept the minutes as published.
We have a motion and a second. 12/11/23, but I see meeting minutes in here from 1/8/24.
Isn't that
We
what
just have an agenda miscue.
my agenda says 1/8.
Mine says 12/11/23.
Oh, yeah. That's probably the wrong one.
Okay, so we are,
1/8/24.
okay, so,
Well, last meeting.
all right, so we'll make a correction to the agenda, I suppose, and we have a motion and a second to approve the minutes from 1/8/24. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Item number 6, committee reports, finance personnel.
We'll discuss at item 23. Also, I received an updated version of the employee handbook from the attorney's office, and I am reviewing it now and will present it to the board next meeting.
Okay, thank you, Terry. Legislative. Longer have. Chair, Parks and Rec beautification is absent. Public safety is absent. Or no, public safety. Amy, do you have anything? Can you hear us? Public Works, Recycling and Sewer, Ron is absent, and Cory.
I have nothing to offer.
Congratulations, Terry, you win the prize for the longest report. Item 7, department report, clerk's office.
I'm working on finalizing the open book and board of review dates with the assessor's office. Open book will be April 26th from 9 to 11. And board of review will be May 22nd from 4 to 6. Also working on getting audit information together for the annual audit is in March. And we are starting to gear up for election stuff.
Okay. Thank you, Brenda. Police department.
I downloaded some data from our new radar speed signs. I'll put that on the website if I can figure out how to do it. But it generally indicates that most people are somewhat obedient, going about 10 to 15 over at the house. So that'll be made public shortly. I also wanted to recognize Lieutenant Lang, who on the 8th responded to an overdose call. There's a gentleman who was overdosing on presumably fentanyl. He responded to Narcan. Luckily, the 2-year-old who was bathing at the time was fine. It ended a lot worse, but her quick response guaranteed his survival. Coincidentally, over this last weekend, we had another overdose at Rock Point. So I hope this is not a trend, but we're quick to handle it.
Good, well, thank you very much, and please thank her for us.
Patrick? She can't hear. So I'm gonna restart this, just so you're aware.
Okay,
So you'll just hear it in the background.
take a momentary recess.
Mm.
She needs to plug her speakers in. Turn them on. I don't care if you are.
Well, it's
Is it the element?
Mm. It says that it's working, it's in progress.
Is there anybody else on remote?
There's some other people, not,
Can you ask one of them if they can hear us?
they're not board members, just other people.
Right, I'm just wondering if they can hear us.
Oh, on this.
Yes, I can hear you.
Ah, thank you. So it's Amy's.
I am here now too.
Okay, good. Awesome. All right, we'll move on then. Item number 8, citizen comments. This is meant for public comments and any subject planning discussion by board of trustee members or action except for possible referral to a body or village agent. I think I asked earlier if anybody had comments. Don was not here though. Don, do you have any public comments?
Only thing I got to say is we had our brat fry at the Lions Club Saturday. And like the chief said, we had somebody out on Lannon Road. And the most popular speed was 40 plus. People see it, there were 2 that got away like. So it's a reminder, but I don't think it's taken away one of their spots. That's a cheap gozer.
Well, the next one we'll have to get equipped with evaporation lasers on it.
It's just such that's gotten so much worse for the last 15 years. I've primarily been driving and it's all over. And it's gonna probably take somebody getting the crosswalk before it scares sense of people, sadly.
Yeah. Any other comments? Thank you. Item number 9, discussion of possible action on resignation of Steve Reed from the village board, including acceptance of same and procedure for appointment to fill the balance of the term or to proceed with a vacancy. So as the trustees know, maybe some of the public, we had a trustee resign. So that gives us some decisions to make. And I guess what I'll do is I'll run through them real quick if you don't mind, Hector. and then
Please
you
do.
can,
But before doing that, can we confirm,
Yep.
that the board is accepting the resignation and the end of the term of the resigning trustee?
Yes, I believe I know what you're asking for. So what you're looking for is a motion to accept the resignation for trustee Reek, effective January 31st. And to acknowledge that his term would be ending in April of 25.
I'll make a motion as such.
We have a motion. Do we have a second? We have a motion and a second to accept the resignation and acknowledge the end of the term is April of 25. That is correct, right, Brenda? Any other discussion? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. So we have some options, similar to, the options that we had when, trustee Paquette resigned. This is, I believe, we were able to recycle this outline from that occurrence. So we can either leave the seat open. That's not an ideal approach for obvious reasons. We don't have a tiebreaker. We are over a year until the next election that we could actually, somebody could apply to be on the ballot. We can do a special election. Again, the issues with the special election are they're costly. Appointment, that's what we chose to do the last time. As both of you know, you were appointees of that process. Those are our options. And then in your packet, you should have gotten this sheet, which goes into a little more detail about each one of those particular choices before us. So I don't know. Does anybody have any particular thoughts or preferences about how they think we should proceed?
The only concern I have is we are so close to another election. We're what, 6 weeks away from the election? To appoint someone who might be on the ballot. And then we're faced with the issue of another vacant seat. So that was my thought on that, but yet leaving it vacant till then, there's no tie breaking. Aspect of it in there.
My initial thought was along the same lines. We've got 4 people running for what was going to be 3 spots on the board. A logical option might be to let the election run its course. And the board appoints the candidate with the least amount of votes. If they're willing to. The positive side of that is at least you have 4 new people that have an interest in serving on the board. And we don't have to go through a process of trying to find candidates making themselves available for an appointment. Because that was no easy task last time.
No. The other thing I had is if we do that route, then the person that gets the least amount, they have to run again. In a year.
Yeah.
So they have to take out papers again in December.
Yeah.
To then get a 2-year term.
Yeah.
If they'd be willing to do that. That would be another thought that I had. What is?
Yeah, time will tell. And then do you,
Right.
Well, live it in April, yeah, so it would be a year. They can take off.
Because Steve's term is up in 25.
so December,
So in essence, the person that gets the least amount of votes would end up actually being an appointed position. Correct?
yes,
And then would have to run again, be
Yep.
willing to run again, go through the whole process again. And we'd have to make them aware of that.
Like we were, could you agree to run again? I also agree to run again in the 3.
But the advantage we had, Anna, is that
Yeah.
an election was not on our
No.
doorstep.
No.
There was a period of time, there
Sure.
was 6 months or something like that. From that, and this, it's on our doorstep.
Amy, did you have any thoughts on the matter?
I would go along with what you said, Patrick, about taking that 4th person and appointing them then to the position.
Yeah,
The agreement that they would.
well, I don't think you can bind them to that,
No.
but maybe. You would hope, I mean, it's always nice to have some consistency on here too, right? But by the same token, the reason you have elections every 2 years is so that you can also have an opportunity for new blood. So. But I think it's important to fill the seat. We need a tie-breaking voter. We need committee chair people. So I think that's the easiest path to filling out the board.
Now, that person that would get the least amount of votes, they'd be right away in the April village board meeting, correct?
No,
Well, because
No.
Steve is not here, they'd be. they would
No,
be-
because we don't have, we have to wait until we have the results of the election, and then they could be sworn in. After that, the May meeting would be their first.
So we would still have March and April.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay,
So we have a 2-month period where there's, you know, the possibility of the tie vote on the matter. We haven't had anything come up that close in quite some time, and it's a short enough period of time that I think. Should we have something come up like that, hopefully it could wait a month or 2 as needed until we can get a deciding vote. Hector, do you have anything to add to?
If the board will follow that arrangement, I recommend that this particular agenda item be tabled to the organizational meeting in May. And at that point, the board will know what the election outcome was and will be in a position to interact with whoever comes in forth to see what the desires and intentions of that individual might be, and to decide whether to proceed with the appointment or proceed otherwise.
Yeah, okay, yeah, that makes sense.
I make a motion to table this.
Yeah.
That's what I said, till the May
Organization.
organizational meeting.
Right.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
All right,
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion carries. Item 10, discussion of possible action on payment of bill for Equinox Landscapes LLC. So this is a small bill from the snow removal contractor for Whispering Ridge Estates. Or condominiums, excuse me. There seem to be some breakdowns in communication on areas of responsibility for snow removal during the snowstorm. The boulevard that the village is currently responsible for, which is the main entrance into Whispering Ridge condominiums, was not getting cleared either well enough or in a timely enough fashion to really safely allow traffic to pass through there. I was contacted by trustee Galatola Roby about the situation. She indicated that their contractors on site would be available and able to clear it. I told her to go ahead and have them do so and to bill us. So that's what this bill is for, and I would make a motion that we approve payment of this bill in the next billing cycle.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? I think that's Ron's not here. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Discussion of possible action on upcoming events for the LBA and Land and Car Show. So Liz had sent a few emails about some upcoming events. I asked her to please consolidate them into a comprehensive list, which she has done, and you have in your packet here. There's also a letter from Janice Management about her request for the car show dates. If you'll recall, I think it was about 3 years ago, we asked that these start getting brought to us earlier in the year so we could make some educated decisions about these and do some proper planning for facilities, police aid, things like that. So does anybody have any objections or questions, concerns about any of these dates that they've presented? Hearing none, do I have a motion to approve these dates?
I'll make a motion to approve all these dates for the event that are going on in Landis.
I will second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? I will just mention that I want to call special attention to our discussions about the Halloween thing that we had some kind of back and forth about the Halloween date last year. I do not specifically recall what we decided, but I thought we decided that this coming year, we were going to align with the other communities. Were we not?
Yeah, that'd be on Saturday.
Yes,
What's that?
That it would be on the Saturday.
that's on a Saturday.
And so that's what she's got is Saturday. So, okay, just want to make sure we got that right. Okay, any other discussion? Yes, sir.
Was it agreed to have it at the same time or in the evening? Sometimes that's a matter of individual preference.
I think what we decided was to have it at the same times. I think there was a bit of a mix up on this last year, so, because it started at 2 instead of 1, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I don't understand why.
I thought it was normally either 1 to 4, 1,
Yeah.
1 to 5. Brenda, do you recall?
I believe that the trick or treating started at 2, but the parade started at 1.
Yeah,
Right.
that's
The parade at 1, trick or treating at 2, and they go till 5.
4.
It went till 4 this year.
And we cut the time because it seemed to be too long.
Too long. How much candy are you going out trying to get?
Well, that's what starts getting in from the time change,
Yeah.
I think we cut it.
Well, it seems like after the parade and that first, we get one big rush.
Yeah.
Through, and then it just kind of trickles down, but by 4 o'clock, there's nobody.
All right, if some stragglers are still out getting candy at 4:30, chief, are you gonna arrest them?
Well, Whispering Ridge is at night, so. We got one at night, to start.
All right, any other discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries to accept the dates as proposed. Item 12, discussion possible action regarding change order 6 for contract 4-2019 for Benton Construction to reconcile final quantities resulting in a net reduction of $138,689.12 compared to the bid price for the water main portion of the USDA contract. Now, Ben will probably get into this. I think this is basically to close out that contract that we had been keeping open with the thoughts that we were gonna change order in some stuff. USDA ultimately said, no, we want you to just focus on this with the contingency funds, and now you have to put it out to bidding.
Took the words right out of my mouth. So they have completed all the work. There are a couple administrative things that they still need to do, like provide the final lien waivers and proof of security. So I would ask that the board would approve this change order. The condition that they meet the administrative obligations spelled out in the contract.
Sounds easy enough. We have a motion?
One question, Ben.
Yes.
Does Benton construction have anything to do with the small building or activities like that across from St. Joseph?
They do not.
They didn't. Okay. And I'll make a motion that we accept the bid. Payment of the bill. Net reduction of $138,689.12 compared to the bid price for the water main portion of the USDA as presented.
We have a motion and a second to accept the change order number 6 for contract 4-2019. Do we have any further discussion?
Yeah. I have a question.
Sure.
Mechanically, how is this going to work? If it's a deduct from the bid, the village will not be getting any funds back? Or,
Correct. So this is the unit price contract. So they bid out. We had approximately 60 different bid items. So for example, 12-inch water main bid out at, whatever cost per foot. And then part of the job of our field representatives when they're doing the construction observation is to verify quantities. So on each payment application that's submitted, it's set up in that unit price format where they've been claiming certain feet of water main, feet of water service lateral, number of hydrants, etc. So it's just as it turned out, most likely with doing lesser pavement restoration is most of where the savings is at. The total amount that's paid out is just quite simply less than the original contract, and it's because the quantities were less. So what this means is $138,000 goes or stays in the contingency fund that'll be used to bid out the next batch of water main on Good Hope Road.
So that fund is under the control of the village.
So technically it's under control of the USDA. So the village's loan and grant package had the village taking out a loan for 4.998 million. And the village has already paid out more than this. So what happens now, you'll notice on this pay application in your packet, there's 3 signature lines, one for the contractor, one for one for the village, one for the engineer, and one for the agency, USDA. Oops. I'm sorry, there will be a cover sheet that the USDA also has to sign. So basically, we forward on the executed copy to USDA and then USDA pays the contractor directly.
But as a result of the action taken with regard to this motion, there will not be any payment made, but instead there will be documentation drawing this contract to a close, or is that?
Correct.
Yes. Okay.
Yep.
And a reconciliation of funds or contingency funds that are remaining and available to the village for qualifying projects.
Correct.
And are there any limitations on the duration of the availability of those funds to the village?
Yep, so far, the USDA has authorized an extension for the use of the funds through April of 2025. We've requested an extension through July of 2025, but are waiting for confirmation.
Thank you.
Yep,
And to confirm, Brenda, in that motion, did you get contingent on all of the necessary
Administrative obligations.
Any other discussion?
The only question I have, Ben, is you mentioned something about water going down Good Hope. And then we also talked about, instead of a water tower, that we'd be getting possibly water from Sussex. And that would be coming in at that Good Hope,
Yep.
right around the roundabout. Would that money in the contingency or the USDA, would that cover that?
It's probably not enough to go all the way to Town Line Road, but the intent is that hopefully it'll go past the bug line and hopefully toward kind of like CTW.
So extending the contract with the USDA, would that cover that?
It would cover the water main through, it's about halfway down,
What, 2,000 feet?
yeah, 2,000 feet approximately.
Okay,
It's from where the water main stops right now to the intersection of Town Line Road is about 4,300 linear feet, and this is expected to cover about 2,000 feet. So,
okay, so when we have to do that difference.
Yeah.
Where would do we have to reapply?
if we wanted to use USDA as a funding source, we would have to reapply as a completely new project.
Okay,
We're kind of getting into separate, right?
no, I'm just thinking,
Okay.
thinking.
All right, any other discussion about this item? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Item 13, discussion and possible action regarding pay application number 8. Application for contract 4-2019 for Vinton Construction in the amount of $5,000. All right, what's this one then?
I think that's a duplicate. Oh, I'm sorry. Item number 12 was approving the change order. That basically reconciles the quantities, basically sets the final contract amount.
Yep.
Item number 13 is just to process the final payment application. So I would ask for approval on this. This is the $5,000 that we were holding back to keep their contract open, all that stuff you had said.
Yep.
So this is just a separate action to process the final pay app. I would ask that you would make this also contingent upon them addressing any final administrative requirements of the contract.
I will make a motion that we pay the application, number 8 for contract 4-2019 for Vinton Construction in the amount of $5,000.
We have a motion.
I'll second it.
I don't recall the details of the contract, but is there any retainage during the warranty period?
There is no retainage during the warranty period.
No letter of credit either? just-
Correct.
And the warranty period runs, if you can recall, from what point?
I do not recall offhand, but it is tied to substantial completion,
Mhm.
which I believe is already complete. I think the warranty is already done.
Yeah, that was basically November of 22.
Yeah.
By Thanksgiving, it was all in the ground and operation. Okay, any other discussion? Okay, all those in favor? Aye.
Okay.
Any opposed? Motion carries. How are you holding up, Amy?
I'm good.
All right. Item 14. Discussion of possible action regarding change order 1 for Mid-City Corporation for contract 1-2020 regarding work at the well facilities as part of the USDA water system expansion project. Mr. Wood.
Thank you. You can see on this change order for Mid-City. This includes several deduct items and a few add items. This is all various scope items that have been kind of negotiated between Sarah Nunn, who is also the licensed operator of the system, Ron Nellis, Trustee Yates, and Strand, just based on what we feel are best uses of the USDA funds for the well houses. What items are perhaps no longer needed, such as removing the cash allowance for providing a third booster pump and motor, being taken out. And some of the other miscellaneous things that were added in had to do with the sidewalk improvements, purchase of generator for Whispering Ridge, et cetera, that we've been talking about. So I apologize that this conversation's been going on for a long time and you've heard parts of it along the way, but this kind of memorializes everything that's been talked about at staff level, board level, and that USDA has concurred to. So this is the change order that would go along with that. It adds a net total of just shy of $34,000 to their base contract value of $465,000.
Does anybody have specific questions about this? As Ben pointed out, this has been a rather unintended fluid situation. It's been an evolving and changing environment as we explored other opportunities to further expand and kind of strengthen the system. And as we've found some of these different avenues, we've made some different decisions that we felt were a better use of money. Talking about load balancing and whether or not it makes sense to spend large chunks of money on assets that we really only have a demand for a very short period of time, and we're going to likely fill in from another source. It's kind of the best way to explain it. No specific questions? Yes, sir. I knew I could count on you.
I'm just curious, on item 1L, additional land and estate programming, I'm inferring that that has to do with some software upgrade.
Correct. And so in this case, land and estates refers to the village-owned land and estates well facility. And it was for additional programming since both the land estates well and the Whispering Ridge well are pumping into the same system. There was various programming to just arrive at a spot where it's smoother, more reliable operation of those two facilities in tandem.
I see. And then I have a follow-up question. 1P with Queen Ridge sidewalk.
Mhm.
Seems that that's a capital improvement on the site, or is?
Correct. So you would have to be familiar with the facility itself to understand, but when it was originally constructed, it's kind of odd. The chemical rooms are on the loading dock side of the facility. And the main door for the facility has the carriage walk from the road straight to the side door. There's no concrete that connects those. And the loading dock, for one reason or another, the loading dock, I'm guessing, is 3 feet plus or minus higher than the parking lot down below. And there's several landscaping boulders between the loading dock and the parking lot. So the only way for chemical deliveries on the loading dock side was actually for them to wheel them through the grass, and there was a downspout in the area, and so it was just to do some improvements to straighten that out.
Thank you.
Yep.
It's a pretty spendy sidewalk. Okay, so we did have a motion and a second, I believe, correct?
No.
No?
No, we didn't.
We're waiting for a motion. I didn't put that.
I'll make a motion that we accept the change order number 1. For Mid City Corporation for contract 1-2020 regarding the work at the well facilities as part of the USDA water system expansion project.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Right.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Item 15. Discussion of possible action regarding change order 4 for PTS contractors for contract 1-2021 for the Custer Lane Lift Station.
I'm gonna ask that the board table this, but and consider this a draft at this point. So the change order includes 3 various line items. One of which is, the first of which, item 4A, costs associated with additional bypass pumping, additional site bill, time extensions related to utility installations and generator delivery. Those were some of the items that we previously discussed, that the board was willing to compensate them for. Item 4B is a known item that's kind of been on our watch list. They need to finish the startup testing of the submersible pumps. They did that testing last year to get the pumps operating temporarily. But the startup tests were inconclusive because some of the components were not finally installed at the time. So the pump rep actually has to come back, and so there'll be a separate trip charge. I had asked for that, and as of the date, or as of tonight, I don't have a number for that, otherwise I would have finalized that. And that's the main reason I'm asking you to table this. And item 4C, similar to the Vinton contract, is kind of a reconciling of some of the quantities and items, which you can see as a net deduction of 22,000. So the anticipated value of this change order is net add of $4,500 plus whatever the additional trip charge from Flight Pumps will be to complete the startup testing on the pumps. So consider that all an FYI, and we will ideally be back next month with a firm number and something for you to take action on.
How will those additional costs affect our decision to basically not pay them any more during this time?
This reconciles that. So if there were no additional trip charge, the net amount of money owed is 0. So so you'll see on here, current contract price, including the change order, Again, this is the draft amount without the extra charge from Flake.
Yeah.
924,840.51, that is what has been paid to them.
Yep.
So. This memorializes some of all of those. Discussions or actions, etc.
Okay. Do I have a motion to table change order number 4 for PTS contract?
I'll make a motion to table number 4.
Sure. We have a
I
motion.
will second.
All right, we have a motion and a second to table item 15, which is change order 4 for PTS contractors for contract 1-2021. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Item 16, discussion of possible action regarding WISDOT small bridge culvert inventory indication form due to Waukesha County by April 15, 2024. Go ahead, you again.
So. DOT is requiring this of every community in the state. And the inquiry that came from Waukesha County is simply for the village to indicate if it intends to complete the inventory itself with its own staff or use of its own consultants, or if you would like to simply return this form and ask the county to complete it on your behalf. My recommendation would be that you ask the county to do it on your behalf. For one, I personally don't know where these culverts are all located. You can see that that DOT will reimburse $100 per structure inventory. So if the village was interested in having its own staff do the inventory, etc., that's an option. What'll follow up this year is the inventory. The following year will actually be a condition assessment. And it's all of this is precursors toward data that WISDOT uses to kind of shape funding policies and et cetera, et cetera.
Brenda and Nicole, you guys want to crawl around some culverts? No? I didn't think so. I thought it exhausts our staff.
All right.
I would recommend we have the county do it, like Ben said.
I'll make a motion as such.
We have a motion to like to have the county conduct the inventory for us in a second from Alto Roby. Any other discussion? Yes, sir.
Once the county completes this, what is gonna be done with that survey information?
That's a great question. DOT is great at having massive databases and mapping tools, so my guess is they're building out a database. Phase 1 is just the inventory. Phase 2 will be the condition assessment. Similar to road condition ratings that we call PASER ratings, there's a statewide database for that. And all roads are rated on a condition scale of 1 to 10, 10 being brand new. And then those ratings ultimately help impact if you make various applications to their various funding programs. They take that condition rating into account when scoring various projects for funding. So my guess is that this is ultimately where it's going. This is kind of a precursor toward developing better data that they can use for their local bridge funding program. There already is a local bridge funding program, and what's interesting about this is they're now targeting smaller things such as culverts. So there's a fine line between what exactly is a culvert versus what is actually a bridge. Both of them, in most cases, serve the same purpose of letting water flow underneath a roadway. So they're starting to get information on shorter culverts that might be structurally significant to the condition of the roadways.
So how did I wonder how the county then do they assess the ones that are in private roadways then? Probably not, right? Like the one at Rock Point Village or the one that's up on the Collie Farm. They won't have any knowledge or
I don't think
information on
so.
that, right?
Correct.
Any other questions? All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries to have the county perform the inventory for us. Item 17, discussion of possible action on policy for hydrants and maintenance of hydrants. So we had, Brenda put this on here, and maybe since Ron isn't here, maybe we table this one until he's back. This was mostly, I think. We have a lot more hydrants in the village now. I think we need to probably have a clearer policy on how we're going to keep them clear for snow, which ones we're going to, the state's gonna require us to maintain, keep clear. Which ones private residents are gonna need to look at, right, ones that are in the right of way that are ours, there's the whole. And then, we can clarify some flushing, dates and responsibilities as well, so. I would just ask for a motion to table item 17, if that's okay.
I'll make a motion that we table it until Ron is present.
Do we have a motion to table 17?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Okay, item 18, discussion of possible action on deduct meters or discount for summer watering. Okay, as some of you may have heard, we have a few more people on municipal water now. So we've also had some residents who did extensive watering as part of their new construction. Received fairly large bills, not surprisingly. And we're expecting discounts or rebates or were upset because they didn't have an option for something what's called the deduct meter. So some municipalities allow deduct meters. I believe Menominee Falls allows deduct meters. What a deduct meter does is basically works in conjunction with the meter, the main meter coming in, and it tracks the water that's going to outside sources like hose spigots. And then it's able to deduct that water for outside use off of the sewer bill and things like that. And the theory is that it's a more equitable solution. Analysis seems to prove that it might be counterintuitive, that based on the cost of a meter, the plumbing, permitting, all the stuff. I think, what did we guesstimate? It was probably in the neighborhood of $1,500 to have a deduct meter put in, and it's like, you're gonna have to run a lot of water through there to get that back. Another option, Sussex, they simply offer a discount during a certain period of the year where there's presumably high outdoor water usage. Seems like a more logical solution. And I think Brenda collected some data on that, but I don't know if she's prepared to present it.
I did not. I just have the language from their bill. For the months of June through September, residential customers may receive a credit for the sewer volume charge if their water is more than 110% of the volume in May. If usage is more than 110%, the sewer usage will be capped at 110% of May volume. So it's kind of a discount if it shows that you're using more in the summer. I do need to speak with Workhorse and double check on if they're able to calculate that, going back to previous quarter and the 110%, etc.
Right. Ben, did you have anything specific that, no?
No, I was gonna comment on that, anything Brenda did.
Yeah, so I mean, you notice it says may receive a discount. There are some calculations that go in there. It's, you know, it's a fairly subjective kind of process, but you know, I think it's something that it's reasonable to look at. And, you know, if it's something that can be implemented in the software. Then I think once we've determined that and get some more feedback from Brenda and Workhorse, then that's something that I think we should discuss. Yes, sir.
It's my impression that a number of communities within the metropolitan area restrict the hours of watering to the hours of darkness, and even then they limit that. And I think that that has popped up as a matter of concern because excessively warm summers. And so it would be my suggestion that staff contact these communities to understand what the policy is underlying those arrangements rather than accepting my impression, because I think there's a policy determination to be made. Here we have a system which has relatively speaking, limited storage capacity. And to allow people to get a discount for greater usage of water might, some people might argue, encourages casual use of water without being sensitive about the limitation of the system itself.
So to clarify though, it's my understanding that the discount comes on the sewer usage, not the water use.
Right.
So they're still paying for the water at full price.
Oh, this is.
They're just getting the discounted sewer rate because it's
Not being
presumably not going into the system to be processed. But I do, you know, I think we're all aware these days that, you know, watering your lawn at 1 in the afternoon on a 100-degree day is not the ideal time to do it, right? But putting the policy in place where there's maybe some enforcement capability there.
They normally do that when there's a problem. That's when they give you that time frame, water.
These people, would they be looking for it to be retroactive? Like from last year?
Certainly hope not, no. No, we don't.
So I
we're not-
Right, I don't want to do that, but would they be looking for that?
I don't think so.
Okay.
I don't think we're in a position to really.
No, it would be just when they were hooked up to the municipal water.
I'm saying we fill our own pool. We did all that all these years and we never reflected money back from anybody. So all of a sudden, everybody wants a little bit back. We've got all those years in that, and the pump house is by us, which we originally owned. So,
Okay, so, I think we're back on me asking to table this item, to a later date when we have some more information.
I make the motion that we table this for further information.
The motion, a second to table the discussion on deduct meters or discount for summer watering pending more information on possible implementation with our billing software and some additional policy information of surrounding communities. Any other discussion? All those in favor? Aye.
Hi.
Motion, any opposed? Motion carries the table. Item 19, discussing the possible action on generator bids. And I ask that you table this as well. This was Ron was gonna get us some bids. It's not here and we do not have the bids. I'll make a motion to table.
I second.
We have a motion and a second to table. Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Item 20, discussion possible action on any updates regarding the sale of village-owned lot on West Good Hope Road. Is this one, we handing this one up to Craig?
All right,
Showtime.
showtime. Good evening, everyone. As an update to the board and everything, our office had drafted an easement agreement to present, to the neighbor. The office drafted a legal description for that easement of to the little driveway area that was located on, that's located on the village property. Our office has sent that agreement to, the neighbor. It was signed for, last Thursday. I haven't heard anything back from them yet, as to, whether or not they're intending to sign the easement agreement at all. I did, contact the number I had for the property owner today and after his request, just to follow up. They did not answer then. So it's to be determined whether or not they will, sign the easement agreement. But at this point, we potentially could wait a little longer. Obviously, March is coming up and that's the hottest month. The list property is on the market right now. So we kind of have two avenues of wait and see approach to see if the neighbor will sign the easement agreement. And if not, then determining whether or not the village wants to sell the property, without securing the easement, in place with the neighbor, and then just kind of disclosing the potential, buyers, kind of the situation that they have, when we sell the property. So it's kind of a status quo there, right?
Trace, were they given X amount of days to sign that?
I told her to contact me 15 days after receipt of the letter.
Okay.
The surveying company was out there on Friday to do the survey that Colleen had asked them to do. And they did stop in here and said the neighbors did come out. They did not have any issues with the neighbors coming out. The neighbors didn't say anything, as far as why this survey is being done, et cetera, et cetera. So, they just kind of wanted to make a little noise, but they said they were fine. So I would assume they would sign it, but.
So, more of an informational item, not really requiring any action at this point in time if we choose not to, or we can take action should we choose to. Is that correct? Yes, sir. What do you guys think?
I think you should go forward. Because like you said, March is right here.
I think we can go forward, but give them the 15 days too, that they were given. What? To respond, right?
How many
Sure,
days?
yeah. I mean, you could still potentially start lining up a realtor to get everything, all your ducks as well, so that when, you have a decision one way or another, you can still capitalize on the market.
Meaning we're still gonna go ahead with it. If they sign it or not, we're gonna go ahead with it.
So we could take action tonight that, as of, March 1st, we intend to list the property and move forward with it without the signed easement.
I think we should continue forward.
For the record, the letter was sent out more than 15 days prior to their
It was,
picking it up.
it did take numerous attempts. We wanted to make sure that someone signed for it, so we had a written record of everything, so I believe it took them 3 attempts before someone did sign for it. Yeah. And they signed for it last Thursday.
Okay. Amy, did you have any thoughts?
No, I think we should start the process as of March 1st.
I just,
You need a motion?
yeah, that's the motion.
I'll make a motion that we move forward with the, putting the village owned lot for sale. For Trace's information. By March 1st.
I'll second it.
We have a motion and a second to move forward with the listing of the village owned lot on West Good Hope Road. Commencing on March 1st, with an agent and a listing price to be determined. Any other discussion?
Have a question.
Yep.
Who's gonna determine the listing?
Yeah, I believe if you recall, we appointed Colleen to lead that process. So my assumption is that she will continue to
Okay.
move that forward and on behalf of the board, our previous authorization. Any other discussion, questions? No, all in favor? Aye.
Okay.
Any opposed? Motion carries to move forward with the sale of the property. Item 21. Discussion and possible action on update regarding the commencement of legal action against properties eligible for but unconnected to municipal water.
And I'll jump right back in on that one. As a little bit of background, there were the chief and the building inspector Paul have worked tirelessly we had 16 properties that were not connected to municipal water. So we had worked over the past couple months in getting into those properties to inspect, to see whether or not they were connected or not. As of late last week, all the inspections were completed to determine whether or not they were connected to a well or municipal water. So we have all that clarification. And then as of this morning, Hector and I filed a lawsuit in Waukesha County against the 16 residents. It was accepted at 2 in the afternoon. I've got copies for everyone. We were assigned Judge Abrahamian, who is a previous Foley and Lardner attorney, defense attorney, very knowledgeable individual. Right. They have the defendants, the owners have 45 days from the day that they are served to respond to the complaint with a formal answer. Hector and I discussed the potential for the chief or the police force here of doing the honors of serving all the defendants to start the clock for everyone from that standpoint. And then from there, once they answer the formal complaint, then the lawsuit kind of commences from there. So with the status quo, it's kind of just a waiting game after we serve everything. And so the complaint that was previously approved by the board, this is just a little bit modified to, we have kind of 2 categories of individuals, those who still are not connected to municipal water. And then there were a couple individuals throughout this process that actually did connect 2 or 3 properties from those. So because they were still in violation of the mandatory connection ordinance, we are still seeking their per diem forfeiture from those individuals roughly for about 1.5 years. The deadline was June 1st, 2022 from that standpoint.
Can I get a copy of that complaint in my mailbox?
Absolutely, yes. Yeah, I brought copies for them.
She did, but she hooked up well after it.
There is one property on here that was hooked up to municipal system that we didn't know it until this last 3 weeks ago.
Yeah, and
You'll hear from her.
it did take some work just to identify, frankly,
A lot.
and narrow down this list, which was a much more arduous process than I would have hoped it to be. But that's part of the process is, you know, we have a much bigger utility now. Trying to get everything cleaned up administratively, from a billing standpoint, from an enforcement, from a connection standpoint. It's not without its bumps, but we're still moving forward. Do you have a recommendation on an action here, Hector? Should we let people have an opportunity to review this again, or is this substantially the same as the one that we previously approved? I think you said there were a few changes, right, Trace?
Yeah, we had just kind of categorized the two property owners into one being just those we're seeking the forfeiture from since they've already connected. And then those who are still, because we have two causes of action, the per diem fines and then the mandatory connection. Injunctively, essentially asking the court to force these individuals to connect. So nothing substantively.
Our intent in bringing this to you is to keep you up to date on the status of these matters. And also, you may be getting calls from some of these defendants so that you can engage them in a positive conversation, namely that, yes, they have connected, but they didn't do it in accord with the timeframe that the majority of water users did. So they have to answer to the court in that regard. And secondly, this is a matter of public health. And it isn't a matter of individual choice as far as the Wisconsin statutes are concerned. And so the village is acting within its rights. Now, the village will be criticized possibly by some of these individuals for taking this long to crack the whip, so to speak. But the goal that the village had all along was to get voluntary compliance. And as a result, we only have a small handful of individuals where we're asking the court, please order these people to connect, or else please issue an injunction order that will allow the village through a subcontractor to forcefully connect to the municipal water system. The shame of it is, for all of these individuals, by and large, the village went through extraordinary lengths to get the cost of the hookup reduced. And that opportunity is no longer there for them. It just makes no logical sense, but they have put themselves in that position. And I think that they have to be told that this isn't a unilateral decision by the village. The village is aspiring to expanding the scope of the water system, looking for other opportunities, and we hope that as we move to the next stage in that regard, people will be more attentive and cooperate. So I don't think that there's any action that you need to take, but if there are any questions that anybody has, you can just email Trace, and we'll be happy, copy both of us, and we'll be happy to respond to any questions.
Trace, I failed to notice in the inspector's last email where he sent the latest version of the spreadsheet. Did he send that to all the trustees or just to kind of our working group?
I think it was the task force that we were calling.
So would it be appropriate to also share that information with the other trustees so that they can better inform themselves in preparation of any of those possible calls?
Sure. And in fact, if you study the complaint itself, you can kind of sit out, the parties that are unhooked up at this point, but we can provide that in.
Oh, yeah, absolutely, I'll forward that. all.
Yeah, there's just some additional
Yeah, make it
data
easier.
in the notes column and, yeah. Just as to the status of the property and.
Do that first thing in the morning.
Okay,
The spreadsheet was
I'm sorry?
the spreadsheet was informative.
Okay, so you saw that?
Oh, yes.
Okay. Thank you, Trace. So no action is required here. Informative in nature. So I'll move on to item number 22. Discussion of possible action to authorize village engineer to solicit proposals from vendors to televise the sewers on the land and interceptor sewer. I'm supposing this is a takeaway from our meeting with Sussex.
Right, the Village of Sussex had a technical advisory committee meeting that it hosted. For the Sussex Regional Wastewater Treatment Plants. And what came up in the meeting are two things. First, the Village of Sussex intends to take on an upgrade to their treatment plant. Landon owns approximately a 5% share in that wastewater plant, and so they will undertake that project, engineering this year and construction in 2025. At this point in time, Landon's estimated participation cost is about $200,000. But at any rate, in this meeting, it came up that Sussex compiles all the metering data for the Lannon interceptor sewer. And through analyzing the data, they speculate that the amount of INI or inflow and infiltration, either high groundwater getting into leaks in the interceptor or rainwater, surface water finding its way in through manhole castings, et cetera, into the interceptor sewer. That volume has an associated treatment cost at the plant of approximately $60,000 per year. And that cost is essentially factored into the treatment bill that Sussex sends to each of the contributing communities. So it was discussed at that, you know, all the communities felt that Lannon should move forward with getting all the sewers on the interceptor televised to find any obvious leaks or modes of entry. That essentially would equate to a study that would identify corrective actions that could be taken from that point on. So if the board is in agreement with that advisory committee, that Lannon should move forward and solicit proposals from vendors such as Visu Sewer Expeditors, and there's probably others. Strand would be happy to prepare kind of a request for quote and some background information to send out to vendors.
Now, is your intent to have the entire interceptor done or just
Yeah.
that problem area where they were down by Macklin and?
I think the entire thing, so it's general best practice to do that approximately every 4 years. That, you know, larger communities therefore do a fourth of their whole system per year, et cetera. Now, the interceptor actually, it just runs from that metering station that's right up front of Whispering Ridge Estates entrance. Down to Silver Spring, over into Sussex and to their treatment plant. So I feel it's reasonable to get that all televised at once.
Okay. Well, I would entertain a motion to authorize Strand to do that. Okay, I'll make a motion to authorize Strand.
You don't want to make them?
Sure, I don't. To solicit proposals from vendors to televise the Lannon interceptor. Sure. We have a motion and a second. Any, yes,
Just a reminder, so because this is the interceptor. This will be billed as an O and M, operation and maintenance expense. That will get distributed. Cost shared to all the communities,
Right.
Landon, Sussex, Menominee Falls, and Lisbon. So just FYI, Landon kind of fronts the money and then gets reimbursed through O and M.
Can we just trade him a year's worth of fires?
Yeah, right.
Mr. Newman, you have something to add?
Well, when we did this 10 or 15 years ago, and Macklin is a bad area, but also you're gonna have to look at then doing some remedial work. Most of it, a lot of it is coming in manholes and stuff, and you get the pipes moving, and so then we're gonna have to spend money to correct what you find.
Very well. Okay, any other questions, discussion? All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Item 23, discussion and action on possible action on payment of the bills.
I make a motion that we pay the bills as presented by Brenda earlier.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second to pay the bills. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Item 24, engineers report. Ben, you want to talk anymore?
I do.
Awesome.
I have two other subjects I just want to broach with you. I called Matt Larsdorf, the owner of Hartford Landscape.
Those guys.
Yeah, late this afternoon. And I told him I wanted an understanding of what their planned activities are for the spring. He was going to check with his superintendent on the status of things, but I told him my recollection is there were about 20 properties still on the list that required further attention. And I wanted to know from Matt, you know, the protocol is supposed to be when they feel that those properties are satisfactory and can be taken off the list, that we would do a punch list walkthrough and see if we concur with them. And I wanted their input on what would be the appropriate time, like during the spring to do that, where it's not so early that they're just gonna tell us this just needs more time to fill in and it'll be fine. And that it's not so late that it's too late in the year to take meaningful corrective action and we get into this death spiral of hot, dry weather in the summer. So he was going to be following up with me on what their intentions are with that.
Okay.
That's one subject.
Yep.
Second subject, Strand, quite frankly, as part of our business development efforts, attends a monthly luncheon hosted by the Waukesha County Public Works Association. It's attended by various public works officials in the county, as far as various vendors and service providers. I attended this last month, and there was a presentation by a representative from Farner Asphalt Reconditioning. They gave a presentation on, my goodness, probably 20 different asphalt rehabilitation methods. One point that was reiterated that I want to bring up to Landon is that spending rehabilitation money on a good road has a much higher return on investments than spending rehabilitation money on a bad road. Bad roads need to be completely rebuilt in a lot of cases, but a good road, and in the vintage of 3 to 5 years old, that's in this presentation emphasized, that's the ideal time to start doing various rehabilitation activities where the choices available to you are much quicker, less intensive, cheaper, and have a longer lasting effects. My suggestion, and I would be happy to talk to trustee Nellis about this if you so desire, but we're coming up on approximately 3 years since the local roads will have been paved as part of the water main project. So I know that typically village's procedure, when you get the crack sealing budget or whatever, is to ride around with a particular contractor and see where to spend money. I think it would be worth, this company, Farner, will kind of as part of their own business development efforts, gladly take a tour of the village and kind of assess if it's time for any activities. And of course, you can kind of weigh their opinions and advice, but I just wanted to, it was a good reminder for me to put on the village's radar that, you know, it was kind of an extra bonus that USDA approved, reconditioning significantly most of the local roads. And that to protect that investment, we should start thinking about some routine maintenance that goes beyond just crack sealing of those roads.
Yeah, I thought Ron and Dennis were talking about renting a kettle, I think they called it, last fall, and going around and doing some crack sealing. I honestly can't tell you that I know for sure that it happened.
Yeah, and there's all various kinds of methods, whether it be, boy, I would struggle to name them all, but chip seal, slurry seal, all kinds of different various things that, you know, if you ever notice, for example, a road that's been blacktopped, looks very black, of course, and then over time, it kind of grays or lightens or whatever. I didn't realize till this presentation, it's actually because the binder of the petroleum binder in there is oxidizing. It's not just fading in the sun, it's actually oxidizing and it's deteriorating. So even before cracks open up, it can be important to do some type of pretty basic sealer just to kind of protect it from further degradation that would then ultimately lead to cracks. So okay. I found it rather interesting and I'd be happy to pass along the company's information.
Yeah, maybe shoot that over to Ron.
Yeah.
And myself. All right, thank you, Ben. Anything else?
I could keep going, but it's not necessary.
Ben, I have a question. for you.
Sure.
I received an email from Ellers about February 6th of 24, the Wisconsin Department of Natural Resources Environmental Improvement Fund program announced due to historically high requests for financial assistance, the following limitations are being implemented immediately. Do you know anything about that?
I do not.
The Safe Drinking Water Fund Loan Program, the Clean Water Fund Loan Program, and the SFY 2025. And then they gave a bunch of acronyms.
Sure. So the Safe Drinking Water Loan Program is very specifically toward water system improvement projects, and the Clean Water Fund is very specific toward water plants and sometimes lining projects. It's basically a subsidized low interest loan program that's made available depending on the demographics of the community and the type of project. Some qualify for grants, most qualify for a low interest loan. And I know that generally every year there's a letter of intent that's due October 31st. And then if you kind of get a preliminary score, so you can size yourself up to the rest of the communities. And then decide if you want to follow through and actually make an application.
Does this look like this number?
It does not. It would be applicable toward, you know, when we do the water tower project, or if we were doing a second well on our own, it would be a separate option to USDA. So at the time we did this project that we're wrapping up here, USDA was way more favorable due to the amount of grants. In the future, DNR might be more favorable, so it's kind of a one or the other.
Do you want to go into a little bit more about some of those discussions, or do you want to wait until we?
Yeah, I'd be happy to. It was kind of on my list as something to provide an update for. So we've been having discussions with the village of Sussex about the potential to do a water system interconnect with them. The door has been effectively slammed due to the Great Lakes Compact and DNR's interpretation of the compacts that it's practically impossible to do an interconnect with Menominee Falls, and we've met with Menominee Falls, and it's kind of their assessment also. Therefore, we just broached the topic with Sussex. It's been a couple of years since we asked, but we just asked Sussex and they were surprisingly open. Sussex is in a position where, due to their projected growth, they need about half of a well capacity. Lannon needs half of a well capacity. As Lannon has experienced in the past, the most challenging part about expanding water systems financially is you have to build the capacity that you might not need for another 20 years, but you have to pay for that right now in order to get the capacity that you need for next year. So you're building something to scale that you might not realize the full benefit for a long time. So this presents an opportunity where Sussex had the idea and brought up that what if the communities each went in and did a cost share on a new well. Each community therefore would only have to spend, around half of what they would otherwise spend on their own. Sussex right now is evaluating a potential site that would be on the Woodlands Nature Preserve, which is by their yard waste drop-off site off of Good Hope Road by the railroad tracks, to see if that would be a suitable location for a well. Lannon, Strand on behalf of Lannon is evaluating if the We Energy site at the intersection of Town Line and Good Hope would be a suitable location for a well. And then the route of the potential interconnect between the systems would be on Good Hope Road. So the tentative kind of outlay for the next steps in exploring whether or not that would be viable would be for each community to kind of research their own site and then convene another meeting in mid-March to discuss the initial findings. If it seems feasible, then, it would move toward a letter, a memorandum of understanding, so to speak. The two villages would then make a joint application to DNR and the Public Service Commission to get their input on it. Sussex is aware of I always forget the name of this program. The state legislator created a program, I believe it's called the Innovation Fund. It's specifically targeted toward municipalities working jointly together to be able to kind of operate or execute their government functions more efficiently. Sussex was keenly aware of this program and thought that something like this would be make for a very favorable application. So, if the two communities can cost share it and have it grant funded in part by this new program, there's a lot of more momentum toward going in that direction. What's exciting on the village's part is we had gotten far enough along in our study to evaluate the ideal location for a well. Determine that due to the emerging contaminants, PFAS, that it would be more prudent to do a deep aquifer well than it would be to do a shallow well. And that would be a pretty expensive endeavor. Ellers kind of did a preliminary look at what that would do to water utility rates, and that would have a pretty significant impact. And also just the time it takes to develop, build, implement a new well. It's on the order of 2.5 years. So what Sussex has initially shared with us is that if this is favorable, that they would be open to phasing an interconnect in 2 phases. One would be start as an emergency interconnect, basically finishing out the water main all the way on Good Hope to Town Line, which we were discussing earlier tonight. And then even though Sussex is short on capacity right now, on a situational basis, if Lannon were to take a well out of service for some routine maintenance or take the reservoir down for routine inspection, something like that, that could be coordinated with Sussex and they could provide us water during that time. And then basically whenever that well comes online, then the capacity is just there and available to both systems. So the second step after the emergency interconnect would kind of be figuring out some type of cost share agreement. So ideally, the time frame is that again, we'll kind of reconvene in March, and then if things really are favorable and this becomes a reality, we would be looking to bring back various agreements probably in the third quarter of this year.
Do you have questions for Ben on all that? I know it's a lot of technical information, but.
What about storage?
Storage would be, our plan for storage would still be the tower, right?
Correct. So the thought is right now, and trustee Grenier has been asking a lot about what about the storage? The storage would do two things for Lannon's system with or without a connection to Sussex, and that's provide you more buffer time if there was something like a leak or some other outage. It would just provide more response time for the operators to address the situation, et cetera. And then, of course, in an emergency, whether it be a fire flow type situation, then that volume is just there that can be drawn at an instantaneous flow rate that's a lot higher than what the wells can put out on their own. So in the interim, the interconnects would be sized such that you could get emergency flow rate out of Sussex's system. So once we connect to Sussex's system, we also have access to their storage that they had in their system is also available to us for quote unquote emergencies. Just by nature of, once you tap into a system that has emergency storage, that emergency storage is also available to you. The advantage to that is when we met with Ellers recently, if we could push the cost of the water tower out 3 to 5 years into the future, where the village can demonstrate more the revenues from the TID, demonstrate some more stability in the revenues of the water utility, that would have a lesser impact to the ratepayer to do that project compared to moving ahead with it now.
Translation is that we would get the PSC off our assets a little bit, right?
Yeah, right. The utility has certainly gone through, it can't be understated the amount of change that the water utility, both from a number of customers, operational and administrative standpoint, has gone through in the last 2 to 3 years. This was substantial, and I think it would help the regulators just to let things coast for a couple of years here, prove that it works, prove that the finances are there, et cetera.
Okay. Anything else, Ben? No? All right. Attorney's report. You want to follow that one up?
Unlike the village engineer, I really don't have a report.
All right. You know what? Me either.
Okay, grand slam.
All right, item number 27, may convene into a closed session pursuant to Wisconsin statute 19.85 sub 1 sub G for the purpose of conferring with legal counsel for the governmental body who has written an oral or written advice concerning strategy to be adopted by the body with respect to litigation which is likely to become involved in with respect to unpaid water bill for the property in the village of Lannon, more commonly known as Lannon Estates, located approximately 20179 West Tweed Hope Road, Lannon, Wisconsin 53046. Motion.
I'll make a motion to convene into a closed session.
A motion. We have a second.
Second.
Roll call vote.
Palazzolo Ruby. Here. Yates. Yes.
Yes or no?
Grenier. Yes. Martin.
Yes.
So that's 4 yeses. Any opposed? We will convene into closed session. Thank you all for coming this evening. Hope you had an exciting time.
It's your more action.
Ken,
We have a motion and a second to adjourn. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. We're adjourned.
Amy, hope you feel better.
Thank you guys.
Thanks for hanging in.